Welcome to Glow Up or Get Out. Today we are going to be talking about conspiracy theories. So who's going first?
I'm conflicted whether you should go first because it's longer or if I should go first because it's shorter.
So we basically both picked a conspiracy to explain to
each
one
other.
another, yeah. And we know the name of the conspiracy that each of us is doing, but I don't think we really know much about
Yeah, like
the others.
the other one. I'm going to be reading off of my phone a lot of the time just because it's not stuff that I can like remember.
Yeah.
So my conspiracy is about hollow earth. And I know everyone knows about like flat earth and
Flat
earthers.
earthers.
But there's a theory that the earth is hollow. And there's like more to it than just like it being hollow. Because right now what we know is that from what we've learned that the core, like we have a core and that's like our mantle and like, you know, there's layers to the earth, but it's like they're all really hot and
The magma core or something.
yeah,
I
there's
remember
just
this.
so much shit to it. It literally is a fucking, you know what it reminds me of when I think about the earth? Those fucking like Mexican, or I guess they're Mexican candies. They're like lollipops and like you lick through the layers.
Like the mango ones? With like the... No?
You never had those? They're called rocaletas. Rocaletas? Or rocoletas? I gotta show you them, but they remind me of that. If you guys know what I'm talking about.
They're like earth candy.
But okay, so that's the theory.
Wait, the theory is
That
that
the earth is hollow. And that there's not a core necessarily. Like we don't know what's actually within the center of the earth. So I'm gonna start this, I guess like the story or the theory off by saying that I'm gonna go backwards because I think that kind of gives a fun way to explain it.
Okay.
So in 1947, Admiral Richard Byrd, I think is how you pronounce his name, he was a polar explorer. So it was like during the times where we first had like aircraft and were able to like fly across countries and like to other places. So he was sent off by the naval, I don't say academy, but like by the Navy. No, the Naval Force? I don't know. But he basically was sent off to explore the polars because nobody had been to the North Pole or the South Pole. And he was able to fly over the North Pole, and when he came back, he had recorded that there...
Should I turn on the air?
Maybe.
So like extra loud? I can't tell. No, I'm just like hypersensitive. I can't fucking tell.
Should I start over?
No. I just want to, but I think that was fine. I don't... It's fine.
Okay. So then he flew to the North Pole, and when he was in the North Pole, he recorded that he had seen a lot of green lush and like a lot of greenery
In the North Pole.
in the North Pole where there's not supposed to be any greenery at all. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be an icy land, right? Like
Yeah.
both the North and the South Poles are icy. And then 3 years later, he was sent to the South Pole, which is the Antarctica. Is Antarctica. And there it was rumored that when he got there, the first thing he saw was literally like an entrance or like a hole to another Earth. And he like states that it's like actually a populated Earth, that at the time it was like these people were very advanced and like they had a lot of technology, which like this is like not unusual because apparently it was rumored that he had made a lot of unusual statements like overall, and some of them were that like while he was flying that he knew that there was like really unusual and new craft in the sky that was like able to fly quickly from pole to pole. Like he was one of the first people I feel like that actually said there's UFOs. I mean obviously like there's a lot of like ancient
Aliens?
no, bitch. A lot of ancient civilizations or civilizations that had like
oh my
stated.
God, they're bumping music, bro. Six on. Jesus.
So, I mean, he wasn't, like, the first to say it, because obviously there's a lot of ancient civilizations that have, like, drawn in UFOs and whatever. We all know that. But he was, like, I feel like one of the more, in modern times, one of the first people to say, like, there's some shit in the sky.
He said something's going on.
Something's going up on there. So, it's unusual for him to say all this shit, but, like, now knowing that we know there's a UFO, like
how unusual.
How unusual are these fucking claims, you know?
Okay.
And some believe that although that, like, he believes that there's, like, literally people or, like, another civilization within the earth, some people believe that it's just, like, a portal to another dimension or another world that we, like, can just quickly go through these, like, entrances in the South and the North Pole. So yeah, which was crazy. And after he got back from his exploration, he was obviously questioned by the government, and he was told basically to stop talking about it because it was too, like, unusual, or maybe because they knew more than, you know, we should know. Whoa.
I said, get this nut job out of here.
Yeah, fucking weirdo. Alright, and then, so now let's fast forward to 2014. Scientists who were researching the Earth's mantle announced that they had found a huge body of water that was 3 times the size of all of our oceans combined within the center of the Earth.
In the center of the Earth?
Well, like, they had found it, I don't know how they discovered it of some sorts, but I think, like, I didn't, like, research how they found it, but they found that there was, like, it was contained by, like, in minerals, like, that we can tell that there was water in the core.
How do they even get, I mean, I
how did you even get
answer, but how do you,
I don't know.
You just start digging somewhere?
That's what I'm confused about. Like, how did, science, I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist.
We don't know the science.
Like, fucking shut this off.
Blowing up.
Fucking group chat.
Night mode? Is that night mode?
What was I saying?
So the core has water.
Right. So with that, it like, the scientists have said that there is a mineral layer 400 miles inside the Earth where, like, this water is contained or exists. And then, so also a plasma physicist like, his team had drilled 8 miles into the Earth, which is, like, nothing compared to how, like, far we are to the core, supposedly. They had stopped after 8 miles because it just had gotten too hot and they couldn't, like, create, like, they couldn't use their machines anymore to go that low. Which, like, maybe I'm like, is there, like, a really hot layer and then you get into this?
It's like a pool.
Yeah, it's just, like, hot and then it gets really, really cold. I don't know. Or maybe it's just, like, the other theory was that, like, that there's, like, there's a holes at the polars, and then the rest of it is, like, kind of hard, so, like, these are the only entrances you can go in. Yeah, so I don't think anyone besides this plasma scientist has tried to, like, get into the center of the Earth, but it's, like physically impossible to, like, get that deep because it's just way too fucking hot.
I mean, 8 miles is deep as just thinking.
Yeah, but to the perspective of, like, how
millions,
we're probably like 1,000 miles in or some shit. I don't know, like, probably more.
Well, didn't they? How much water? How much? They said something about the water.
3 times the amount of all
No,
oceans.
you said like
400 miles inside the Earth.
Yeah, 400 miles
inside the Earth. I'm sure it goes even deeper than that though. So that's where it's crazy. And this brought up the thought. I, like, wrote myself a note about how, like, we know more about, like, the surface of the moon versus, like, what's underneath us. Isn't that, like, fucking insane?
I was gonna say, like, it reminds you how we don't know anything about the ocean. Not nothing.
I'm like, why are we so busy exploring what's above us versus, like, what is within us or even under us?
You want to know why? Because they already know what's under and around us, and we need a way to get out. So the moon is the next best option. They try to make that inhabitable.
Bro.
Yeah, I went there.
But like I said, like, a lot of ancient cultures had talked about UFOs. Many ancient cultures have also had a consistent theme that like believe that there's like another world inside of Earth, that like there's a whole other civilization that's a lot better than the outer surface. Like they just believe that there's like they're higher beings inside of the center of the Earth, and it kind of like goes against what is more like modernized belief systems, where inside the Earth or below us is hell. You know what I'm saying? It's like the flip side.
Hell's on the outside.
Hell's on the outside.
Heaven's on the inside of Earth.
I could believe it. Are you kidding me? We live in hell. It's just crazy to me because like two very significant like people in the 18th century had some perspective on like this theory. Mm-hmm. So there's a scientist, Edmund Hillsman. Mm-hmm. That's how I pronounce it. He basically challenged the structure of the Earth and the layers within the Earth to be very different. He believed basically that there wasn't just these layers of nothingness or minerals. It was more like layers of like different types of habitable places, basically.
Interesting.
Which is really crazy. And then this 18th century mathematician, Leonhard Euler, he believed that the Earth is hollow and the polars are actually like thin entrances of the hollow Earth, where there was another sun in the middle, and it had another civilized civilization, or it had advanced civilization is what I meant to say. So like this person in the 18th century literally believed exactly what the pilot had believed.
Yeah,
Richard Byrd believed.
Crazy to think about like because when you think about people in the 18th century or whatever, everyone thought they were crazy, or like medicine was like witches, and
yeah.
So it's like,
and now if you think about it, like everything's coming back around. But what freaks me out is that like this person in the 18th century had talked about he like created a theory, versus like this person who probably never knew about this mathematician. Yeah. Literally has said to experience the two polars and had seen like these entrances. He literally said he saw the entrance. It's just fucking insane to me that two exist and like probably never knew about each other.
I was gonna say it's just annoying that as people like we have no resources. And that's why things are conspiracy. Yeah. Because we're theorizing with what these people are saying. It's like we don't have proof, and that's why it's a conspiracy, because it's so hard to get proof of things that are out of reach. I guess. Yeah. That makes sense. People have named the inside civilization. Apparently it's called Agartha, and it's crazy because I feel like also within like the ancient civilizations that had existed before, they believed that these beings inside of there were either really, really tall giants or they were reptilians. And those already are theories in today's world, which freak me out, because then that just means these theories overlap, and why do they overlap? You know what I mean? It just scares me to think that there's maybe truth to it. I don't know. This also reminds me of a different theory that I had seen, where this person proposed that all of the mountains and all of these hills and rocks and mountains that look like people's faces or the body, just literally a giant us version. That was just basically the theories that they're fossilized giants. Yeah. And that things grow out of them like grass and all this other shit. It freaks me out because like that makes sense to me when you think about the giants inside of the fucking Earth. And then the reptilian shit just makes me believe in the Illuminati and how that is connected. Just like all these theories overlapping is just really fucking scary. And why is it a theory? Like, is there some truth to it? Like, what are we looking at? We literally were talking about how maybe they came back up here because the reptilians needed, the losers down there wanted to create a new world up here. Which makes sense, like that's why there's so much fucking evil in this dimension. You know what I mean? We were dimension alone. You losers had to come up here and like make yourselves the fucking new world order, the elite group. Like fuck off. No one cares. I'm gonna get murdered tomorrow. I was like, I cracked the code. I'm not associated with this woman. Don't look at me. But yeah. So that's there's all together. Yeah. There's also a theory, like there's a theory alone that aliens aren't above us, that they're inside the Earth, which like also goes along with the hollow Earth theory. They're not necessarily like crazy looking like alien men, but it's just these beautiful, like tall, elegant beings that live in the center of the Earth that like are much better than us. But shut the fuck up. She's like, I'm like a quarter I'm a quarter alien, ma'am. And they believe that these fucking UFO people aren't as it seems. It's just these very advanced, this very advanced civilization that
are literally so much better than us. But yeah, those are the two species in the center of the earth, reptilians and beautiful tall giants.
Wow.
That's the theory.
Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth. Probably butchered a lot of that, but that's like the simplistic version.
Yeah.
I started watching this one like documentary where this woman was like, tall giants live in the center of the earth, and then it's like how I can prove it. And she literally goes into like scientifically.
You should link that below.
Yeah, I will. Apparently it keeps getting taken off YouTube. Oh. So you tell me what that means.
Sketch. Conspiracies. So my conspiracy that I've decided to speak on today is Ong's hat. I've never heard of this conspiracy theory when we were trying to decide ones to do. This one just kind of spoke to me for some reason. So basically, Ong's hat is a village in Burlington County, New Jersey, and it's been abandoned for decades. So the name sounds like, why would that be the name of a village? And I have a backstory for you. Legend has it that a flashy young gentleman with the last name Ong would woo all the ladies with his dance moves and his suave outfits. Notably, his silk hat. This already sounds so ridiculous. The legend continues to say he was a player who would flirt with all the ladies. So one of his love interests actually caught on to his player ways and confronted him at a dance. She stomped on his hat and then he left the dance, drunk and upset that his night had been ruined. He tossed his hat high up in the air out of frustration and it got stuck in the pine trees. So for years to follow, the hat became the landmark and thus Ong's hat was born. But today, Ong's hat has no residence, just piles of rubble and overgrown building foundations. In the last quarter of the 20th century is when people believed the village was opening to another dimension. In 1999, this guy Joseph Matheny wrote a book called Ong's Hat, The Beginning. People are split 50-50 on whether this book is fiction or non-fiction.
Okay.
Okay, so the story behind Ong's hat. There's a group of people who belong to the Moorish Orthodox Church of America. The members of this group traveled the world mastering different philosophies and spiritual practices. One in particular, I believe his name is Wally Fard, settled in the Pine Barrens, which is basically where, like, the area that Ong's hat is called, with a few people, and then they became the Moorish Science Ashram. Long story short, there's these twin scientists who came. They were dismissed from Princeton. Basically, their science and their findings, like what they tried to do their thesis on, was too extra, and Princeton was like, goodbye. So while they were there, they discovered a vortex, and then they pretty much like built a building around it because like it's a vortex. And if you don't know what a vortex is, it's just basically like a strong place of energy in the simplest ways. Mm-hmm. So after a few years, they created a device called the egg. And basically, with the egg, they'd hook people up and do experiments on them. The device charted their brainwaves. So then they tested it on one of the boys that was there. And when it was activated, the boy and the machine both disappeared. He came back and he claimed that he traveled to a dimension next to ours. But soon after, they were forced to flee because there was a chemical spill at Fort Dix, which is nearby, and that was leaking nuclear materials. But instead of fleeing out and away from Ong's hat, they decided to flee interdimensionally. So like, one by one with their possessions, they would use the egg. So when they transported, they still lived in Ong's hat, but humankind did not exist. So some say that the government found out about the experiments that like the twins were running, and they raided the ashram, which basically sources are saying that people died, and the government didn't want people to find out about
the vortex.
Yeah, what you could do there. A pamphlet in the late 80s came out titled Ong's Hat, A Gateway to the Dimensions, a full-color brochure for the Institute of Chaos Studies and Moorish Science Ashram. These pamphlets concluded that, in quote, you might discover finding it is not so simple. Online, other stories emerged of survivors who grew up on the ashram and detailed accounts of the raids, the government destroying the egg and the gate, which they called the vortex the gate. And then others say that the gateway has decayed, but the vortex itself still exists. So details of the story that are like particularly true is that there was a chemical spill that was covered up for years in New Jersey. Another one is that the military lined up nearby Fort Dix with the claim of a brutal raid happening. The pamphlet can be found in the Incunubula, which is a rare book catalog. Catalog basically just has other sources and proof of different dimensions and like traveling to different dimensions. Mm-hmm. And in particular, there's this guy named Herbert. He's a credited scientist who had lots of published work in that catalog. And he basically just details the ideas of these doors, vortexes, and that traveling to other dimensions is real. How do you feel about?
I mean, this just like gives me Stranger Things vibes.
Stranger Things.
Like I feel like it's always in the 80s. the vibe's always the 80s. Like when things were changing. Yeah. You know, people were rebelling a little bit more, and interdimensional shit is always happening in the 80s for some reason. Like via fucking movies. So
it may be. Okay.
Don't knock it.
So basically this conspiracy theory was debunked because the writer of the book, Matheny, comes out and says that he made it all up. He had Herbert the scientist help him make it all up, and he became like his scientific backing. So the point of it was he wanted to see how much he could convince people of, and he realized that he took it too far. So,
or do you think the government told him,
listen, I get to that theory. So, in the book, he himself is the investigator in the book. Like, the guy's name is Matheny. And he set up the book himself, posted the bulletins online, and, like, basically was the one encouraging this community. So he's the one that kind of started the whole thing, and he made up the survivors, he backed them up with fake email addresses, and he purposefully overlapped other real-life events and other theories so that it would, like, make people feel like it was even more real. Mm-hmm. It's a big-ass social experiment, basically, and they're saying it's the first alternative reality game, an immersive experience that sends players on a fiction-based quest based on the real world. While I want to believe in alternative universes, I feel like this conspiracy theory is just not the one to prove it. Because, like, obviously he made it up for other reasons and whatever. But, like you said, so his diehard followers, the people who were, you know, following him on this journey up until he released the book, he convinced them so well that they still to this day believe that he only came out saying it wasn't true because he wanted to protect his safety, but he debunked it just enough, supposedly, so that it could still remain true and he could still share it. So, like, for me, I believe in alternate universes and dimensions and stuff. Like, I don't know, I believe in that. But I feel like he genuinely did make everything up in this specific story. The legend of why Ong's hat, I think, is real. But I think he embellished the entire thing. Cause
so I think the vortex and all that is what you're saying is
he embellished.
Yeah. Not even embellished, just literally made up.
Yeah.
And you think he chose it because this town is basically like abandoned and it's an easy like target of.
And it's also like can't find it. And he basically admits to making the pamphlets himself. For a decade was convincing people before he came out with the book.
What a fucking elaborate marketing scheme.
But to really commit to that.
Yeah, I think, like, obviously, for all those people that are, I mean, the thing is, like, I kind of want to get into, like, what the other people who are, like, diehard fans of him are still believing, because I feel like they've probably come up with a theory of why he has said that he created these pamphlets and, like, why he made up these survivor stories.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know.
I mean, maybe he had to protect himself, like they're saying.
Yeah.
Because the government said, hey, no. You're not going to be putting all that out.
It's just like, to me, it's like, why are there so many different experiences or stories, literally just stories being told in the same format? Like Stranger Things, again, a gateway, a fucking vortex of sorts. Like, it's all within the same theme. It's just how, like you said, like, you believe in these things, and there's just certain stories or certain theories that are just obviously not true. But I don't know. I feel like the underlying theme of there is vortexes and there's stuff that's being hidden from us is completely accurate.
Yeah.
Just some stuff is, like you said, just a little more embellished.
A little too far.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. I mean, that's the whole thing with conspiracies. There's still people who believe that Ong's hat is truly real. A vortex. Of course, I didn't provide all of the details because I'm sure there's more that goes into these people's names, and, you know, if people were to be like fact-checking, investigating, were these people real? Was this real? Was that real? I don't know how much of the story is true other than why it's named Ong's hat. Like, that's truly, I think, the only 100% that's got to be real part.
Yeah, because it exists.
Yeah, because it exists. But I mean, I think the two scientists were also real. Like the twins, I think they were real because they got kicked out of Princeton. Like someone could fact check that. So that's why I'm saying like he aligned real life people and situations with his conspiracy.
It's just like it's just too easy of an out for me. Like for him to be like, I made it all up and this is how I did it. It's all a fucking scheme.
Conspiracies
dude. These two theories just make my fucking brain go wild on like other theories that I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah, so those were our two conspiracies. Hopefully we explained, so you got the gist of them. So obviously we couldn't fit both of our theories into a 1 hour episode to combine. Like it just wasn't gonna happen. So we wanted to give you a good gist. Maybe it'll inspire you to look into them more, because if you're not looking into conspiracies, you're living your life a little too normal for my taste. You don't want to live in the Matrix is all I want to say. Question things and do your own research.
Blue pill or red pill?
What?
You never seen Matrix?
No.
We're watching that later, I guess.
Okay. But in Glowing Hour, we're going to talk some real simple conspiracies. So welcome to Glowing Hour. We're going to make things a little bit lighthearted with conspiracy theories and hopefully not get attacked by any outside groups who maybe are elite. Just maybe though. All hypothetical.
It's hypothetical.
All hypotheticals. We're drinking Mars again. Per usual.
Maybe next season we'll have a new drink.
Maybe a whiskey drink.
Maybe a whiskey drink.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But
if that resonates or anything to anyone.
If it's relatable,
listening.
I don't know. So yeah, like we said, we're gonna do short conspiracies. I don't know how well versed y'all are in conspiracies, but we listed, I don't know, like 8 or so.
Yeah.
Of some small ones. The first one being the Rugrats.
I don't remember this one very well.
Yeah, I don't know the exact. Let's look it up. Let's see. Alright, so the Rugrats theory was that
Angelica.
The Rugrats are a figment of Angelica's demonic and unimaginable imagination. So it says Chucky actually died in 1986 with his mother, and that's why Chaz is a nervous wreck all the time. Tommy was born in 1998, but he was a stillborn, and that's why Stu is constantly in the basement making toys for the son who had never had the chance to live. The DeVilles had an abortion in 1990. Angelica couldn't figure out whether it'd be a boy or girl, so she made them twins. And then there's like more. It says for all grown up, the teenage Angelica became addicted to various narcotics, which further aggravated her schizophrenia.
Period.
So yeah, that's basically in general you get the idea.
So
but that's
sad.
the conspiracy.
It makes so much sense, but
I don't think the creators really.
No, I don't think so. But like that's a crazy interpretation.
Like who did that?
Who did that?
Next one is that Justin Bieber is actually a reptile.
I think that one comes from this one video where he like blinked and like his eyes went this way or something.
Like just like super
or vertical. Yeah, like a reptile's eye.
Like his pupil.
His pupil was like long and skinny. And I think that's like also off of the conspiracy that like the elite or all celebrities or most celebrities are reptiles. Yeah, I don't know. That one's creepy.
You can dig in. Next one, the Mandela effect. I mean, pretty classic.
It's a classic one. I fucking believe in the Mandela effect completely.
Like Sex in the City, Berenstain.
When I think about Sex in the City, I can't remember if it's Sex in the City or Sex and the City. Like that's how confused I am.
I remember it as being Sex in the City, but I believe
it's
the correct
and
is and.
I'm just like, yes, Sex and the City makes sense, but like Sex in the City?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Berenstain, I definitely.
Yeah, Berenstain fucks me up. Berenstain? No. I feel like the Kit Kat one really bothered me. I feel like it didn't have the little thing in the middle, or it does have the little thing in the middle.
Yeah, take a look at the Mandela effect.
If you haven't already, I feel like everyone's been talking about that for years now.
You'll probably find something that upsets you, so be in the right state of mind for that.
Mattress firm.
The conspiracy that they are a money laundering front.
Do I believe this one? 100%.
Yeah. It's in New York where they're all, or New Jersey? Something New Jersey, man. It's all sketch. Anyways, but mattress firm, they just have like, I don't know, 20 on one block.
Yeah.
And people are like, y'all good? Like, who's buying mattresses?
At this rate.
Because you buy mattresses like every 10 years.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. Even when I see a regular mattress store around here, how
are you in business?
How profitable are you right now? You know? Like some parallel universes. I feel like this one I've already kind of hit, but there's a specific story that I like recently saw on TikTok that like fucked me up. Or not TikTok actually. It was YouTube. What had happened was that this girl was like covering the story. She like got an entry and she read it online. But basically this woman was talking about how in her early years of dating her current husband, he went through a very traumatic accident, the car accident where he almost died, and he recovered and everything, but then when he finally came over to her house, he was like, hey, what happened to your purple TV that was in your room? And she's like, what do you mean? And he was like, yeah, like the purple TV, like, you know, it's always been there, like whatever. And she's like, I've never had a purple TV in my room. And that freaked him out. So whatever, she was like, no, I promise you, like, I'm not lying to you. And then he came up with this theory that he basically died and he's now in a different dimension or parallel universe where that purple TV doesn't exist, but his relationship still does. And obviously they still recognize each other. That they have like a safe word for whenever they feel like they have another one of those experiences, because their fear is that like they're gonna go into a parallel universe and not be with the same version of the partner, if that makes sense. And that just fucks me up, because then like is that really the person you fell in love with? You know what I mean? Scary. Later in life, they buy a house, and this woman remembers her husband. Like, they just had bought a house, so, like, they were trying to fix the house up and, like, add their own little quirks to it or whatever. And in their, like, coat closet, they were really, like, looking for some sort of storage for something that they had, like, going on in there. I don't remember if it was, like a hookup for a vacuum or whatever, but it was something very specific. And then later, she herself went through like a traumatic experience, a near-death experience. I can't remember if it was like a car accident or like she almost died during labor or something crazy like that. And when she got home, that thing that they installed together was gone. So she was like, hey, like, what happened to this? We just put this up, like, last week. And the husband's like, we never put that up. I mean, we, like, talked about it, but we never put it up. And she was like, no, I remember you drilling into the wall, like, it happened. And he was like, no. She asked him for the safe word, and he couldn't remember, like, what she was talking about. And then she was like, fuck, I'm stuck in a different universe. And I feel out of place. That scares me because, like, even if everything else feels the exact fucking same, if one thing is completely different.
It's like, how many dimensions have you traveled through?
Don't fucking know. Anyway, me and Logan created a safe word. Sam, we should have a safe word because I'm also scared.
We should all have safe words, because I'm telling you, it's like your parents could be like your eighth version of your parents. That's weird. Because nothing changes for you, just for them.
Just for them.
And like for me, I'm sure I've experienced things when I was like younger, being like, but it feels like deja vu.
Well, like quantum mechanics has basically like stated that multiple parallel universes exist.
Yeah.
We're just never gonna run into them. But I'm like, I don't believe that. We've already crossed that barrier. Like,
we're never gonna run into them.
The next one is a silly one. We like want to know. The conspiracy is that Ryan's roses is rehearsed, which I feel like is completely true, but I don't want to believe it because
they're
so good.
So many good times in the morning on the way to school listening to Ryan's Roses. The twists and the turns with some of the women where they'd be like, family.
It's just like some of the stuff is so out of pocket. You're like, it has to be fake. Should I give them the fucking one I heard this past week?
I forgot it already, so do it.
So Monday morning, I wake up and Logan and I are taking Harley to the park, and like sometimes I just don't want to listen to like my own music. Sometimes I just want to like put on the radio and like listen to it mindlessly.
Yeah.
So I put on Kiss FM this morning, and on my head I'm like thinking about like the times when me and Sam used to listen to Ryan's Roses in the morning on Thursday mornings.
Yes.
And he all of a sudden comes up with a segment. Well, I feel like he had this segment back then too, but like a segment where he does like, after your first date, like, why didn't they call you back?
Yeah.
Type of situation. And in this specific one, he was basically asking this woman, like, hey, like, so yeah, this guy you met, like, what happened? Why are you on the show right now? Like, what are we trying to figure out? And she was just like, yeah, we went on first date. I thought it went well. And then he just, like, never called me back, never answers my messages. You know, we met via Instagram. He DM'd me. We, like, got to know each other. And then we went on a date. And it just, like, happened to be that he never responded or stopped talking to me after that. They're like, hey, just be quiet on the phone. We're gonna go ahead and call him. And so they call him, and this guy is let's give her a name.
Her name's probably already fake.
I know, but like I don't remember her name.
Oh, Jessica.
Jessica. They're like, let's name him Tom, right? They're like, hey Tom, what's up? Like, it's Ryan Seacrest. Like, you're on the air. Just want to let you know. And he's like, okay. You could be Ryan Seacrest over here. Hey, you need a replacement. Ryan was like, hey, like, what's up? You're on the air, blah blah blah. And then Tom's like, oh, okay, like, all weirded out. And then Ryan goes, yeah, so like I heard you went on a date with Jessica recently. And he's like, yeah, I did. And he's like, how was it? And he was like, yeah, she's nice. And then it gets quiet.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, so then like what happened, man? And he's like, well, you know what? She's cool. Like I think she's a great person. And then Ryan goes, so will there be a second date? And he goes, yeah, no, I think we've run our course. And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck? This guy's an asshole.
Damn.
He just ghosted her. And then Ryan's like, why? Like, why don't you want to go on a second date with her? And he's like, you know what? Like, I think we're just very different people. Like, you know, we just don't match up in, like, the ways of life. And then Ryan goes, like, but why is that? And then he goes, you know, well, I found out that she has a kid and, you know, she never told me about that. She kind of lied about it. And then Ryan goes, like, what if she's protecting her family? And, like, I'm the same. I'm like, you know, this girl just probably doesn't...
Girl, fuck this guy!
Yeah, like, fuck this guy. He doesn't like women who have children already. Like, what the fuck? What an asshole. He's like, no, I also found out that she was married before. And then Ryan goes, okay, but so? And then she jumps in, which they always do. And she's like, yeah, but like, how did you even find that out, that I had a son? And he was like, I don't want to talk shit about anybody on air right now. That's what Tom said. And then Tom basically was literally just dropping the mic and was like, you are married. And she's like, wait, how did you know that? And he was just like fucking bragging on how she basically is cheating and he's a side piece.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just don't want to be a side piece in anybody's life. And she goes on, she fucking said, you're not a side piece. Like, why would you say that?
Oh my god.
And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You're married, woman.
So bad. But things like that just happen on air and I'm just like, this is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it goes too far.
Ryan literally said, Tom, you saved yourself from this one. And then said, to you, Jessica, hope you find happiness. I don't know what to say to you.
He's so extra. But basically,
I think it's rehearsed.
We need to see a casting call sheet or something. There's gotta be something. Unless everyone who's on it just fucking all collectively is like, let's make up a fake story.
Maybe.
And Ryan's not part of it.
Maybe.
Whatever. Next one is DNA companies and what they do with our data.
Yeah. I think this one's slowly becoming less of conspiracy and actual truth. This was a conspiracy when it was first like happening. All of these like companies like Ancestry and 23andMe and all of those like DNA companies where you swab your mouth and give them your DNA and they'll tell you where you're from. They're taking your data now. That way, like in let's say 50 years from now, when they come up with like these cures for diseases, that they have your genetic makeup to basically give you marketing later.
23andMe or something, they'll tell you what you're predisposed to.
Yeah.
So like if you're predisposed to diabetes, then they can market diabetes medication towards you because you've already been technically quote unquote diagnosed.
The point was like they will help you be medicated now so that you don't get these diseases. Such also, there's like the talk of immortality and having that be something later in life where like they have the availability, but you give them the DNA now when you're currently alive and well and healthy, and later when you're sick and old, they have your genetic makeup of when you were young, and they create like some fucking shit like a serum.
I wonder if they're really keeping everybody's like that. If you're the one person who's like, I love.
That would suck. This one runs really far because I feel like also selling your DNA back to you. Yeah. Your genetic makeup.
I mean, I was going to say it almost makes me feel better that it's more of a capitalistic gain for them versus like a scary, we're going to clone you and fucking make the clones take over your life type of situation.
I've never heard that one, but
I'm saying it's better than it being that.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure somebody's theorizing something of that sort.
Well, actually, not necessarily cloning, but Elon Musk recently talked about how they're working on a brain chip of some sorts to basically like no longer need your phone or any other information. Like you just have basically a computer in your head. Yeah. So if you've seen Black Mirror, like, you know, the recording shit and all of that stuff where you ask like your brain like, hey, pull this shit up, and it does that. And then he literally stated, you know, Black Mirror is really good at predicting things. I'm sorry.
Do you think it's because he's already been in the works thinking of these things, or because he's inspired by the show?
No, I think I think Black Mirror just knows what's gonna happen, and then he's like, "Hey y'all, let's give him a teaser," you know?
Like Black Mirror's like, look, we're good at creative stuff and making stuff about the things we're coming up with. We can't actually make them. And then Elon Musk was like, I got you. I'll make it happen.
They're literally like predisposing us, or not predisposing, like programming us to like
be okay with
these ideas, like scaring us right now, so that when they actually happen, it's less scary.
It's more comfortable.
Programming. Scary. Okay. But what I was going with is like in that same interview, he was also talking about how later we're going to be able to create like new bodies for ourselves. Maybe that's also like why they want our DNA, so that we can just pop off.
So the next one. Heavy. This one's sad. Basically the conspiracy that baby parts are injected into people, specifically celebrity skin, to maintain youth. Found a youth potion, if you will.
This one makes my brain hurt because
Sandra Bullock has admitted on Ellen, if you look it up, she has admitted on Ellen that she
injected.
She does that.
Baby something in her face.
We don't know. She didn't confirm what part of the baby.
Because if you go deep into other conspiracies, there's like adrenochrome, which let's not even go there because that's too touchy currently for everyone.
Yeah.
Last one is Hollywood imposters. I think we all know what this means, but if you don't, it's just basically about how certain celebrities are seen to be dead, but their spots are filled by lookalikes.
Avril Lavigne
is one of them.
A big one.
Yep.
Britney Spears.
But that's a whole other conspiracy.
Yeah, the Britney conspiracy is also thick. Tom Cruise?
Is that really one of them?
I think because of his whole Scientology thing, people are confused whether he's fake or if he's just a Scientologist.
He's just a Scientologist. Look up Hollywood imposters. Oh, Eminem's one of them?
Yeah, Eminem. Oh, Wendy Williams.
Ooh,
she's a sidebar.
Taylor Swift is one of them too, but I don't know if I believe that one. Paul McCartney.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Megan Fox. Miley Cyrus is one of them. Some seem to think that Miley died of an overdose in 2010 or was killed by a corporation, whatever.
Whatever!
The consistent detail is that she was subsequently replaced by her former body double.
See, but it's just like the world of Hollywood is so confusing because it's like y'all are just gonna play up the PR. So yeah, those are some small conspiracies we thought we'd touch on because conspiracies are interesting.
They're thick.
We would have ideally liked my cousin Emily to be here because she is a fanatic and she probably would have filled in a lot of holes. But I think that's it for today. That's all we have to say. Oh, we're gonna finish it today?
If you guys like the episode,
again.
Please leave us a review, a rating.
Only if you like us, though.
Yeah.
If you don't like us, just leave.
Okay, just leave.
Just don't do us a disservice, please.
Just it's okay. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the good stuff.
Yes.
And we will see you next Thursday for our last episode of this first season.
Yes.
Don't worry, we'll only be gone for a week, so season 2 will start up the week after that.
Season 2 is going to have more business.
So if you're here for the business
part of things, we're going to get a little more into that. Don't worry, our personality will still survive on through that. Don't worry. The drinking will still be happening.
It will continue.
Okay.